be a little bit cheaper there. When I say cheaper, I mean less expensive. We will also be shopping this out as a type of white label service where other dev teams who want this amazing scratch ticket protocol on their website can use it right there. They don't have to pay anything up front, but the terms are a percentage of all tickets sold on their platform goes to buying drip, dog, and pigs. And this is something that I know will be easy to spread and get other development teams to adopt, right? That I have no question about. And the more development teams are using it, the more different cash streams, cash flows from different communities are coming in and buying drip and buying dogs and buying pigs. This is huge, right? So not only will I be shopping this product as through my own networks personally, that raise that we're doing in the DAO for the marketplace that's specifically for selling businesses, part of the deal I worked out with them is that they will be heavily marketing our product, right, our whitelisting service for this type of game on other platforms. So this is going to be a huge new cash flow for drip, dog, and pigs. And the tickets will be sold in B&B, but like I said, a percentage of all the B&B raised goes to buying drip. Another percentage goes to payouts in prizes. Another percent goes into the treasury to ensure the jackpot is getting larger with each build. And then the rest goes towards revenue sharing. And it's a pretty good share that's going to revenue, right? So it's really something that's going to change the way that these type of games are developed, right? It's really something special, I think, that we're bringing to the table here that no one else is doing, and we're doing it in a way that's going to allow us to raise a lot of capital for drip. And when we shop it out as a white label service, what that means is the mechanics to buy tickets, scratch tickets, all that will be available on these other developed teams' websites, and it will be themed. Let me just post an example here in the chat. An example of a piggy bank ticket, right? And you can see some of the numbers are scratched, right? You scratch it like that with your mouse on the front end when you buy a ticket. It's so cool. But so when someone essentially buys into using this model, right? They want this model for their platform. We'll theme the ticket for their theme, and people will be able to interact with it on their site, right? So these ones, specifically Drip and the Piggy Bank one, they'll be available on the Drip site and on the Animal Farm site, which gives a reason for people to be going there every day and buying their tickets and scratching their tickets, and more capital going into Drip and Animal Farm. So this is huge. And I'm partnering with two very cool teams to do this. One is Chainlink, and Chainlink's very excited because we're using their VRF service in a way that no one's ever done it before to really do a very cool utility here. And they already reached out to us to do a partnership, right? They wanted to do a partnership with Drip. And when they asked for a partnership with Drip, I said, okay, we can do a partnership with Drip, but let me think of something cool, right? So it's actually worth promoting, so you can actually get like the attention of your community. And this is what we're bringing to the table here. So they love it, right? So we're gonna get big cross promotion by Chainlink, and then I haven't spoken to the other dev team about making them public or not, so I'm just not going to say who it is right now, but it's a very cool team that you guys would know about. They do good work. It's a fun game that they produce, right? So and they're good people. So I'll have a talk with them, and then maybe the next time I speak about this, I'll be naming them as well. But one good thing is they have a full-time marketer on their team, right? So this was saying this yesterday. That's one thing that I want to work on, is getting a full-time marketer on our team, and we'll get a chance to do that on this project and see how it works, and potentially hire them for our other projects. But the fact that these are tied into other projects is going to be great regardless. That, for roadmap, I would say it's a couple months out, right? Because I just don't want to rush anything. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't want to say it's a month away when it's really 2 months away. So I'd rather say 2 months, but it's a lot of it's done. The white paper's done. We've already had the meetings with Chainlink. I'm in constant communication with the people that I'm building this with. So that is right around the corner, right? For Drip and for Animal Farm. Another thing that I really want to do, that I've wanted to do, is a type of lending protocol that allows you to use your drip stake as collateral to lend a stable coin. And that's something that I definitely still want to do. And now we see what recently happened with another project where they could have had a stable coin that worked out pretty well, but they left a major issue in there that was very glaring. You know, any developer that really gave a hard eye on it knew that it was an issue and it was exploitable, and it could have been patched, and all of that could have been avoided. So we know that is part of a model that could be used to do some kind of lending, right? So not exactly that model, but that kind of collateral-based staking protocol that has a stablecoin issue, right? So having a type of lending protocol for Drip that issues a Drip stablecoin is another thing that I'm going to put a lot of focus on. I just contacted one of my partner developers. That's actually BB, right? You guys all know BB. He had to take a break because we've been grinding for like 2 years straight, and he has a family. So I promised him that, stick it through for Animal Farm, and we get off Animal Farm, take a couple weeks off or whatever. But I just talked to him. I was like, when are you going to be back? He's like, I'll be back on the 20th full time. And I told him, all right, man, when you get back, we're going right into building this stablecoin lending deal, right? So we haven't started building that yet, but that's on the forefront of my mind when BB gets back, because that's right what I'm going to put him to work doing, right? With, of course, as a collaboration, me and him work, we do everything together, but he's someone that is very skilled at coding. So we have a ton, right? I just listed off so many things, and I hate to give exact dates because I get it done as soon as I can get it done, and as quick and as secure as we could do it. So that's until the work is 100% done. I'm not giving out dates anymore, right? So that was one of the issues with Piggy Bank. We left choosing the seed amount until as the last thing to do, and then we wanted to meet our deadline, and we ended up making kind of a fast last minute decision. And I'm just going to ensure that we never put ourselves in the position again where we will ever be making a last minute decision to meet a deadline. So from now on, you will never ever hear me say a deadline for anything until the work is 100% done. And that's another reason why I kind of fell back a little bit. It wasn't super public, because when you're very early on in development, then it's easy to make changes. It's easy to adjust. Someone suggests something, you can work it in. You're far enough away from the deadline that you can say it'll be a couple months or whatever, right? And it's not a big deal. But when you're in the last stretch of development, and you're, say, a week away from launch, you're a week away from launch, but it could be 14 days, it could be 12 days, it could be 10 days, it could be a week, and no changes are being made, this is it right here. You don't want to, I don't like to make too many public statements, right? Because you're in the area where in a week you're going to have all the answers, and you don't want to put your foot in your mouth. So I've been kind of hanging back, until now, because it's 100% them now, and now really it's about networking, connecting with the community. Just know that the whole time, right? If you don't see me super active in voice chats and texting in the chat, what's happening is I'm in the background every single day, talking to other development teams, talking to potential partners, talking to my partner developers, working on things, running tests, and just working, right? Working. So, I don't know. I could answer a few questions, but I have an AMA tomorrow, and you guys hear my dog freaking out. It's because someone just got to my house. So,
all good, FOREX.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hang back and listen to the conversation or whatever. Like essentially like a tornado cash collateral pool, right? So essentially when you deposit to a little different than that because you would actually earn yield off it, but when you deposit into the collateral pool, it then creates a greater anonymity set for all the other users that are in the collateral pool, plus capital that passes through the collateral pool while it's being bridged. And you could take a fee on that and essentially pay it out as a dividend to liquidity providers, or collateral providers, whatever you want to call it. And it could even be a type of inflating asset, like a farm reward token, right? That wouldn't prevent it from being that wouldn't make it less anonymous, and it would also allow for larger rewards. And also, I would utilize some railgun type of tech to hide wallets, right? So essentially, the idea is you're able to move capital from one chain to the next chain, but no one will be able to see who's interacting with this bridge wallet, how much they're sending to it, where any of the capital came from, where it's going, and the people who are providing the anonymity set are getting paid for doing so, and the greater they contribute and the more people are in there, the greater their anonymity set, right? It can be done. I know it can be done. Someone just needs to build it. Contracts that provide some service, or things like this that can be plugged into the existing tokens, or don't need a token at all. Like people can just interact with them with BNB or BUSD or my existing tokens, right? So that's mostly what I'm interested in now. And a bridge would do that, right? A bridge doesn't need a token. You can use BNB or you can use any of my existing tokens.
Well, I just sent $25 from using Elk Finance to Harmony One, and it says I have 14.111 one token.
Oof. But did you send it from what? Like, did you send one to one? Did you send the same token?
Well, I went through MetaMask from Binance, and I exchanged BNB for Elk, $25 roughly.
Okay.
Then I sent Elk to Harmony One, and it got there fairly fast. And it says,
how much value is that though right now?
I don't know. I got to figure that out.
I'm checking it for you right now.
Okay.
Because just so you know, one is on Pancake. Just so you know.
This is what I did.
So,
FOREX Shark, what's this mammoth thing you keep hitting
damn.
about?
Hey, Gypsy, if this is correct, $25 is supposed to be 209.1. Just so you know.
Okay.
So she
I don't
lost
know.
out. She lost out on a lot.
This seems like it. Oh shit!
Okay.
I just realized that.
So Mammoth, obviously that's not a heavily veiled dig at you know who, but also, like I was saying, I think that same kind of mechanism, having a collateral-backed stablecoin, could be done in a way that ties into drip and allows for lending. So, so essentially, my whole thing is I don't want to have to create another token. So, creating a stable coin that can be issued and lended off of drip stakes, that's fine. I don't want to create another token like I'm not going to name it, but you know what token, and a stable coin connected to it, right? So, so I want to do something like that, but if I do it, it's going to be tied into one of my existing tokens, most likely drip, and
there you go.
And we can use it as collateral to we can use the stakes as collateral. There would need to be some sort of stablecoin deposit as well. So essentially, we would need to have some additional staking pool that allows for BUSD staking, and then we could use the drip that's in the vault or in the faucet contract as collateral, partnered with stablecoin. So essentially, they would need to have a drip stake, and they would need to stake some USD on top of it, or something like that, right? There would need to be, we do have a significant amount of USD collateral from Animal Farm as well. So there's a few ways we could do it. Really, I just have to think about how I want to do it without needing to create an additional token.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah. Well, let me just say, it would be very easy for me to do just by creating an additional token, right? I would just take those existing contracts, patch the issue, which is very easy. I can do it in a day and launch. But I don't want to launch 2 more tokens. I want, I want to like this.
Let me ask you this: Can you make something like, if I want to bring someone to the platform, let's say Drip, and I want to lend him some Drip that will benefit both of us without making a new contract or something? Can that be done?
Yeah, it can be done. The reason why that can be done, right, is because you can use dividends being earned to pay back the loan. So what that opens up the door to is someone being able to lend you capital as long as you have a specific amount of drip staked, and then their stake, the dividends, instead of going to them, will go to you. So it's a way that you can earn yield by lending someone else capital. And you can be ensured that you'll get paid back through the drip's dividend model. This person that gets the loan has to get the loan based off of their staked collateral on the drip platform, though. But yeah, that's the great thing about DeFi, right? And especially these kind of staking models. Say this is a traditional market, you pay him, and then he runs off. You have to go break his kneecaps or something. In this case, they have the stake already, so they don't pay back the loan. You get to just collect their dividends, essentially. And of course, you would get interest on that. So the way it could work is I don't want to give away too much IP here, but
yeah, but I will get that idea.
Yeah, you lend it. You give them a loan, right? They can pay it back. They pay it back early, then they don't get high interest. They don't pay it back at all, maybe, and their dividends pay it back, over time. But you get a bigger interest because you lent it out to them, and it takes longer to pay it back. But you're getting that interest paid back because it's coming from their dividends.
Will you think it in a way that they don't have to do any actions to pay? Like it will automatically get it off of their winnings and paying it back to the person who did the loan?
Yeah, that's the only way it could be done. It would need to be automated. Yeah, for sure.
Tied like some sort of tree.
Well, it's as simple as directing the dividends that you're making to their account, every day until the loan is paid back, with some interest on top of that. So say you lend them $100. It takes a month to pay back $100, but they owe you 120 now because they've had it out for this long and it's collected interest. So now it pays you back over 120 days instead of 100 days.
What happens if I lend to someone and that someone can lend to another one below him? Could that be possible?
Well, so there is. You can look at projects like Abracadabra, right? That has the ability for some lending. It's not as advanced as our model, and but it is possible, and there is the ability to do that. But there is serious diminishing returns every time you do it, to the point where you only have a limited amount of essentially. Trying to think of fractional lending, right? It's limited due to the diminishing returns every time you do that. So it's possible to do, right? Several levels, but then the diminishing returns just restricts it in that way, right? Just basic market incentives.
Yeah. I was asking because the first move of you lending to someone is to, let's say, you make them know the platform works, and then you will urge those people to invest in drip to lend to other ones, and that will create like some sort of tree below them, or kind of stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the issue is, right, if you were to get a loan from the bank, nothing's stopping you from then lending that capital out to someone else. And people do it, and there is a market for these secondary loans, but the reason why it's not blowing up and turning into some, massive Degen thing in the retail market is because there's just diminishing returns there, and it really doesn't make sense to. It's not like you're actually creating value when you do it, right? So when you do it, there are certain instances where it may make sense to do. Maybe at one level, maybe in certain periods of time, but it's not something where you're actually creating value when you do it, and there's diminishing returns when you do it. So there's just basic market dynamics that restrict that. But of course, it's possible, right? It's possible to do, but existing systems have already proven in traditional markets and DeFi markets that's not a problem, right? It's possible, but not a problem.
All right, thank you.
All right, so the things I'm excited about is insurance, lending, and gaming, right? That's what I'm very excited about. That's what you're going to be seeing me work on in the future. And of course, all of these will be built into my existing projects. So lending on top of drip, insuring stakes, insuring deposits in yield farms, not just having it on my projects, but also having it as a service to, insuring other farms, right? Credible ones like PancakeSwap, etc. Creating awesome play-to-earn games, which I'm working on right now. One is not built, but I have the logic worked out for it, and I'm looking for someone to build it essentially now, because I'm kind of at the point where my hands are full as far as development and marketing, and I want to be able to put essentially my full focus into marketing our existing projects. So I'm really outsourcing a lot of the development, but of course I still have my core team where nothing gets by without going past them first. So there's a lot I'm working on right now, and I'm very, very excited about all of it. I think that the things that I have lined up are way bigger than anything that I've ever done, but they all support what I've already done and help build up the ecosystem and create new cash flows for them. So, I feel very good right now about where we are and the future of all our projects. Right? So, it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
Just don't forget about the big pen.
No, well, the pig pen has been earning a lot of money because all of that, those LP tokens that are on Animal Farm that have stayed on there have been rehypothecated out to PancakeSwap, and we've been earning capital on them, and that capital is just sitting in the contract, ready to be added to the Pigpen when it goes live. So, I mean, we've made a lot of money in the Pigpen. And, the Pigpen, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but it could have a couple more $1 million in it that we had than we had when we paused it, right? So, and the Pigpen is designed to be a model where essentially the participants in the system get the dev fee, right? So as the platform grows, as it becomes more popular, the more fees it generates, the more it pays out to the Pigpen. And the Pigpen has time-weighted rewards, which means the longer you stay in the Pigpen, every day your payout gets a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger. And this is meant to be a long-term project. You can look at there's a very small amount, right? There's like maybe 2% of farms out there are quality, but the quality farms stick around. They stick around for years. And this I believe is a greater model than any of them. It has the sustainability and sticking power way beyond anything they can do. So the Pigpen is the long play for people that want to be owners and want to be sitting next year making all kinds of BUSD dividends, because they had the forethought to go for ownership of the platform rather than rewards paid out, essentially. So I'm not forgetting about the Pigpen.
About the Pigpen.
The protocol hasn't forgotten about the Pigpen either. It's generating a lot of BUSD every day.
And is it working right now? I mean, we have to like unstake the pigs just to send it to the new contract. Is it working right now, even after we did that?
Yeah. So all that happens is, but right now pigs is paused, right? So the whole thing is paused. Nothing is happening there, and but you're still getting paid BUSD though. So you're still getting paid, right, out of it. It's just no one's depositing pigs in or out, obviously. When we launch V2 of the pigs token, you will be credited with your pigs in the new Pigpen contract if that's where your pigs were when we paused. So we paused, we said, all right, if you're in the Pigpen, withdraw, send it into the credit contract, and if you send it to the credit contract, we'll credit you with V2. Since it was in the Pigpen when you paused, even though you withdrew it to send it in to get credited, you will be credited in the new Pigpen contract and immediately start generating those BUSD rewards, right? And like I said, a lot has built up, like a couple million has built up that will be added in there as soon as it's unpaused. It's all of this is automated, right? So while it's paused, it's just accumulating. But when we unpause it, will the capital will migrate to wherever it's supposed to migrate to. Which timer? Pigpen?
The timer in the Pigpen that you said. The longer you are, the more staking you will get.
No, so that doesn't reset because it's not based. So there's ways that you can do time waiting without actually looking at block times. So yes, it doesn't reset at all. And the way the mechanics work, it's not actually. It's accounting for how long you've been in there, but it's not specifically based on block times. So it gets technical, like very technical, how it does time waiting. But one way you could think about it that's fairly simple, which is one dynamic of how it does time waiting, is it pays a percentage every day of the vault, right? So this ensures that as long as it stays active and you continue to deposit pigs, then your share of the Pigpen ownership increases over time. Those are increasing for every individual user the longer they're in there. But it's all relative to other users. So, how long you've been in there relative.
So FOREX
LP tokens, or if you have pigs tokens in your wallet, right? when we paused it. You didn't have it in piggy bank. You didn't have it in Pigpen. You just had it in your wallet. You will need to claim it from a claiming contract. Other than that, you don't have to do anything because you'll be credited in whatever contract it was in.
Perfect.
Yeah, when we pause.
So I don't need to wait for a timer to run down or anything, right?
No, it's when we unpause, it's just all of the existing contracts will be essentially exactly like they were before we pause. Only some of them will have more money in them, such as the Pigpen, because capital has been accumulating. And in the piggy bank, the distribution will be more fair because that initial bot who sniped the contract with the intention of trying to drain it or just sell it every day, he has been removed from the system, and he wasn't removed from the system in some kind of subjective way, right? We didn't just arbitrarily decide to take him out, although we would have, because we specifically said that if you try to get around any of our anti-bot protocols, and if you set up contracts to snipe the piggy bank and drain the system, you will be blacklisted, right? So he went against our terms of service. That was stated beforehand, so we would have. Hold on a second. I just want to stop the background noise. So we would have taken him out anyways, but the way that we're doing the crediting means that we don't have to do any kind of arbitrary picking and choosing on who gets blacklisted, who doesn't get blacklisted, because essentially the way we're doing it is taking the amount of LPs you deposited minus the LPs that you withdrew from the system, and this is what you'll be credited with the launch of V2. So if you deposited, if you sniped the contract, and then had a script that all you did was drain, attempt to drain the system, that means you withdrew more LPs than you deposited, and you don't get credited in the new system. So, and of course, no one can complain about that because you're walking away with profit from the system that you tried to break our rules in, right? So this allows it to be an extremely fair distribution and ensures the people that got in there with the intention of only draining the system are now not getting credited and are not going to be able to affect the existing investors, because what we do first and foremost is protect investor capital above all else, right? Even when it might be extra work or in any case, right? We always or a hard decision to make, right? We're always going to go with the side of protecting investor capital, right? So the distribution,
that's no good.
Each user deposited an LP minus what they withdrew, right? We'll then credit them with this amount of LPs in the order they deposited with a type of simulated buy, which essentially acts just like they got in the order that they got in, to determine the distribution that everybody gets. But instead of doing it with a relatively small starting liquidity, we used the same starting liquidity as we did with Drip Garden, which worked well for Drip Garden, but we didn't get botted in Drip Garden. That was the difference. But anyways, we learned from that. We've made serious changes both on our development team and in the way that we do our development in the future. And I've listed multiple of those changes we've made. But anyways, we do this in the order as if we had a higher seed amount, which means the price impact for every buy is less than it would be with a smaller starting seed amount. And this means a more fair distribution, right? A more fair piglet distribution. And even though the initial 3% that buy in would, in a vacuum from raising the starting seed amount, get slightly less, right? So somewhere like the first 3%. Even those people will get more because the initial botter got so much, and all of that capital is being distributed as well. So that makes up for everybody, to the point where virtually every user is going to have more in the piggy bank than they did before we paused it. Right? So we told botters, don't do it. If you try to get around our anti-bot protocol and snipe, we will blast you, and that capital will be distributed to the rest of the users in the system. That's exactly what's happening. So, yeah, it's a more than a pain in the ass to have to have it paused like this. But you can look on the bright side and see that botter who tried to screw us now made a $500,000 donation to the community. And also, we've learned a major lesson from this, right? So not only the lesson of don't give out deadlines until 100% of the work is done, is a decision. We also full-time to do ball control and to be looking over our shoulders at all times. It's his own independent development to see if he gets the same we get. So not only this, but also we put a lot more thought how we can do launches in the future to any kind of sniping, or we put a lot of into determining the future to prevent any kind of sniping, plotting. There are ways that we can do that we'll implementing from now on to ensure that never happens again. Also, we put a lot of thought in what we can implement in the code so it didn't happen again. We have the ability to address everything. So, when you look at a lot of other dev teams, right? When they make their fumble, when they have a little bump in the road, they get drained, right? We do our diligence, so we ensured that we had our safety protocols in place, so if something unexpected does happen, they cannot drain that capital and the investor funds are protected, right? So we put a lot of thought into that before we ever launched, so we did our diligence, and it worked. But you can always improve, you can always get better, and that's one thing we took away from it. Okay, in the future, if something unexpected does happen, number one, we'll invest protected capital, that's a given, we know how to do that already. On top of that, how can we do it without needing to pause everything else? And there are ways to do that. You just have to go into development with that in your forethought, right? Which we now have. So we're in a better place than ever. Between the people that I have on my team now, the crazy networking I've done over the past month with new connections, what we have in development right now, the future for Drip and Animal Farm, it's like I feel so good. Plus this awesome raise that we have in the DAO, I feel really good about that project as well, and the work that we'll be able to do with them. And we got $1 million allocation for that, right? That's I don't want to say what we could make a return off that, but we've turned $1 million into $100 million in the past in the DAO. I wouldn't be surprised if we break that, right? So we made a lot of rich people. We're going to continue to do it.
I got a quick question here.
Hallelujah!
Is there any advantage of joining first in the big bang, or can you join later and we'll have the same benefit that someone joined earlier?
No, I already kind of went over that. The longer you're in the pig pen, the greater your daily dividends are relative to your holding.
Piggy bank. I was asking the piggy bank, not the pig bank.
Oh, I thought you said pig pen. Yes, yes,
bank,
of course.
piggy bank.
Of course, there's a benefit to getting in earlier in the pig pen because there's an exchange rate for truffles. The more capital is in there, the more expensive truffles are. So the earlier you get in, the better truffles price you'll get. Also, when you're in a system that allows you to earn compound interest, the earlier and the larger you can get into these systems and compound in them, the greater exponential growth you'll see. So fundamentally, it's better to get in early. And then there's also the time locking element. And you get a bonus for time locking, which means if you get there early and time lock, you're going to get your bonus and be able to have access to that capital before others in the system. So, yeah, there's all kinds of different benefits to getting in early, but we still implemented the mechanics that allow for you to get a good rate essentially anytime you enter, because essentially Piglets is constantly diluting itself, which is how we have a mechanism that is that me? Hold on.
I think that's you.
That's how we have the mechanism that reduces the percentage that you make every day, right? So because of this, Piglets is constantly diluting itself. When you compound in the system, you essentially get reset to making 3% a day. So the same mechanic that controls the ability for the reducing daily percentage also ensures that if you get in later, you still get a fair rate on Piglets, because the truffle price, because the truffle price is the truffle price can reduce due to the inflated truffle amount, and the truffle's price per piglet is a constant, so you can essentially afford more piglets, right? So there's there's like 4 different mechanics that all interact with each other that all make it so there is a benefit to getting in early, but it never gets it never becomes a point where it's not worth getting in because the price is too expensive, or you can no longer earn the percentage that that you want to earn, like the top percentage. Because say you deposit a month from now, you're still going. When you do that initial deposit, you're going to be making 3% a day, right? Now, if someone deposits now and then doesn't do any compounding and lets it sit for a couple months, they're not going to be making 3% a day. So the person, no matter when you deposit, your actions determine the percentage that you make every day, not when you got in. When you got in can have a benefit because you could pay at a lower truffle price, which allows you to have more piglets and earn more truffles, and and compound from there, right? And whenever you have a system that allows you to earn compound interest like this, there's a benefit to getting in early. But what determines your daily payout is your actions in the system, not when you got in. So you can get in a month after someone, but if you're compounding daily and when you initially get in, you could be making 3% a day. They could only be making 0.5% a day, right? So piggy bank is all about your actions, right? Of course, there's always some benefit to getting in early, but someone who gets in even 6 months from now, but is active in the system, could be generating a lot more capital, right, for the same principal. So they could deposit the same exact principal, get in 6 months later. If they're compounding regularly to keep their yield at 3% daily, they could be earning way more than someone that deposited 6 months before them and isn't active in the system. So it's all about being active. It's all about keeping your daily percentage high, right? And to do that, you have to be depositing and compounding.
Just like the garden, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it in the garden.
Same like the garden, but the garden does not have this time locking mechanism, which adds a whole nother type of mechanic that rewards getting in early and locking.
Hey, FOREX, I have a question. I missed most of this meeting. I had to step away in between. And it's probably been asked, but the piggy bank, the truffles that are sitting there now, just leave them alone, or can we still continue to compound them?
Yeah, so it's not going to matter if you compound it or not, and so just save the gas. Not that gas is a lot on BSC, but save the gas, okay, because you're going to be credited in piggy bank based on the amount of LP you deposited minus the LP that you withdrew, and then you'll be credited as if you deposited that amount of LP, got the amount of piglets that you would get for that amount of LP, and those are the amount of piglets that you'll be credited with, and then as soon as we unpause, you'll be starting to earn truffles based on these piglets. And because of the way that we're doing the distribution, you'll have more piglets than you had when we did the deposit, because we're doing a more fair distribution.
FOREX igual.
And we're doing a more fair distribution by taking the capital from the botter, sharing it with everybody else in the system evenly, and also starting with a higher LP amount.
So it makes no sense to comp on the truffles that we have here now, right? Since the contract is paused.
Yeah, it's just going to waste the gas because we're not taking that into account when we do the distribution, anyways. The reason why we're not taking that into account when we do the distribution is because if the initial distribution was not correct and people are earning and compounding truffles based off on it, then whatever they're earning and compounding is also not correct. So it doesn't make sense to, that would defeat the whole purpose of doing the redistribution if we were going to distribute it in that fashion, right? So the distribution is based on the LPs that were deposited. And essentially, everybody will get their piglets based on this distribution, and then we go live. No one will have accumulated truffles when we go live. Everybody will have piglets. You'll have more piglets than you had before the pause, but you won't have truffles. And as soon as we unpause, you'll be earning truffles based on those piglets you have. And this is good for a few reasons. One of them is because people that get in as soon as we go live and in the first 48 hours don't need to get in worried that someone has a whole bunch of truffles that are about to get dumped on their head, right? People that get in when we unpause are getting in at essentially the ground floor, right? And we're giving a 48-hour bonus where they get a 20% bonus for depositing. And everybody that is an existing staker should be very happy about this because we're making it as attractive as possible to get this thing re-rolling and get it kickstarted off the ground. And of course, everybody that has a stake in it can also decide that they want to make an additional stake and get a 20% bonus on it as well. So because no one is starting off with existing truffles, it's essentially like everybody who already had a stake got into a pre-sale. And now we go live on Thursday. That's functionally, it's just like that.
All right. What about the LPs that were sent in? For example, I had a 7-day stake which then expired after the bank was paused, and then I sold the truffles as instructed, and then sent them in. What happens on relaunching?
If you had a stake, say you had a stake that was 9 days old. Say you had a stake that was a 9-day stake, and you were 3 days into the stake. When we go live on Thursday, you'll have 6 days left on that stake. We're just taking the exact state that it was in as far as stakes, and just migrating that whole state over. So any gifts that you had, any referral bonuses that you had, any stakes, time lock stakes that you had, all of that will be included. You'll get all that.
No, I was asking about the LPs that we sent in.
Well, I don't know what you're asking. You said something about 7 days or something.
Yes, so I was saying that after my 7 days, I was able to sell the truffles. Well, of course, the farm was, or the piggy bank was paused, and then you asked us to send in the LPs, to kind of sell the truffles and send in the LPs. Yeah, so I did that. So what happens? How do we get that?
That LP will be credited to you in the piggy bank contract. So we paused it. We said, all right, we want everybody to withdraw their or sell their truffles, withdraw those LPs. This allows us to remove the capital from the initial pig token, right? Remove the liquidity from that, migrate it over to the new pig token, take those new LPs that we just created, deposit them into the piggy bank, and then everybody who had their piggy bank stake, when we paused V1, will now get credited with those LPs that they had when it was paused. So if the LP was in the piggy bank when we paused it, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to do. When it launches, you're going to be credited piglets for those LPs. Those LPs will be in the new piggy bank contract, and you'll have your time lock stake if you have time lock stakes. If not, if you just had a regular stake, then you'll have the piglets. You start earning truffles on it, and that's it. You don't have to do anything. If you had LPs in your wallet or you had pigs in your wallet, right? Or before it was paused and when it was paused, right? Those LPs you will need to claim. So if you had pigs in your wallet when we paused, those pigs, you had to send them into the credit contract. And then when we go live on Thursday, you'll have to claim them out of the credit contract. If you had LPs in your wallet when it was paused, you had to send those LPs into the credit contract. And when we go live on Thursday, you'll be able to claim those the new LPs and the V2 pigs from the credit contract. If you had them in Pigpen or Piggy Bank when we paused, then what we asked you to do is withdraw them from Piggy Bank or Pigpen, send them into the credit contract, and when we go live on Thursday, you'll be credited for those pigs, those pig LPs, in the new contracts. In the Pigpen contract, if that's where they were when it was paused, in the Piggy Bank, if that's where they were when it was paused. That should answer your question. I mean, I can't really break it down.
Thank you. That's clear now. Thank you. Thank you.
No idea about your individual case. If you got a referral bonus or if you get a referral bonus in Piggy Bank, but you don't have a stake yet, it goes to your zero stake, and you need to compound it into piglets. Essentially, use it to buy piglets to have it be accessible. Right? It gets turned into piglets. Those piglets pay out truffles. We didn't add the ability to compound referral bonuses at launch, and the idea was to add it immediately after launch, and then we paused, right? So we didn't do it because the contract paused. But you could have called the feed piglet function, and it would have done it, right? That's a public function that you could have called, or you could do it on the front end, right? And where it will be on the front end when we go live on Thursday.
All right, cool. Well, I'll just see how it plays out. I was just curious because there was a few people that had zero stake. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. So essentially, if you have a zero stake, you get truffles. But all right. So let me before I answer this question, let me just explain it a little bit better. So when you have a deposit on a stake, you can only earn 5 times what your deposit is. So if you have a zero stake, right, and you get a bunch of referral bonuses because you don't have you get a bunch of truffles sent to you because you don't have a stake yet, but you referred people, then those truffles sit on the contract waiting for you to compound. You cannot withdraw them, right? The reason why you can't withdraw them is because you can only withdraw a max of 5 times what you deposited. If you have no stake, you have nothing deposited, then you can't withdraw anything from the system. And this is a safety protocol and also a sustainability protocol. Now, you can compound them into a stake and now start earning truffles off them. And that was available for you to do right at launch. But you would have had to call it, use BSC scan, or use adapt generator, or whatever you want to use to call that function. Or you could call that function manually, however you want to call it. When we go live on Thursday, there'll be a button that allows you to do it, right? But that's a edge case, right? That's a very much an edge case that people will get all these built-up referral bonuses without even having a stake, right? So that's an edge case that likely will never happen again, because the only time that would happen is when you have a launch event and you have a whole bunch of people referring people before it even goes live, So people are using referral links before anybody has a stake yet, right? So that's an edge case of something that only happens at launch time. But even so, and because that's a edge case that only happens at launch time, we didn't add the button on the front end, and that's because it's an edge case. It only would happen at launch time, and if that did happen, all the person would have to do is call the feed piglet function on BSC scan or whatever to handle it. But it's easy enough to just add the button. So we'll add the button when we go live on Thursday. But that's that. You know, if you try to withdraw it and weren't able to withdraw it, it's because you can only withdraw 5 times your deposit, and if you have no stake, no deposit, it's not going to let you withdraw anything. You can only compound it.
Hey, FOREX, when you talked about people adding the scratchers to their own website, would they have their own scratch tickets?
Yeah, that's the thing. We'd be selling it white label, which means they would have their own designs. We have designers, the ones that design the drip and the Animal Farm scratch tickets. So you would have your own design. It would be on your own website. It would do revenue sharing on your website. It would do it would be buying back your asset. The only essentially our incentive for doing it is because it would also be buying under our underlying assets as well. So it's a way where you can get this service paying essentially nothing up front, have this awesome scratch ticket model on your platform, designed for your platform, so when people go on it, they don't even know it's a whitelist service. They don't know this is developed by us or anything. It's just an awesome marketplace. It's on your website with your design, and back and buying your asset, and it wherever you want. Yeah, for sure. That's something that I'm very excited about.
Nice. Awesome.
So I had a question about the Pigs USD LP tokens that are rewarded out from the piggy bank. Are there any plans on making a farm or some method of profiting from the piggy bank without breaking apart the LP tokens? Like just something in the future.
So you're earning LP token piggy. So that's how you yield in the piggy bank. Now we can utilize some sort of back-end staking to earn additional yield, and this is what we're in Pancake Swaps talking about right now. When I said Pancake Swap reached out to us about a potential partnership and how can they help us, basically my answer to them was we want native farms and native pools for drip BUSD, for dog BUSD, for pig BUSD on the Pancake Swap website. This way we can take the dogs BUSD, the pig BUSD, etc. LP tokens in piggy bank and on the Animal Farm, stake them on the back end to be earning cake, right? And then we can use that cake to do all kinds of cool things. But
I would just
you as an individual are earning yield in piggy bank.
Right.
You know, that's the whole point of staking that LP. But absolutely, I would love to do something to earn yield on the back end as well, not just have it sitting in the contracts like we're doing with we're doing the collateral rehypothecation on Animal Farm for our non-native farms and pools. The way we're able to do that is because PancakeSwap has a type of lending protocol that allows us to lend those LPs to earn yield. They would have to open that up to us for our native pools, which we're in talks with them about. We were in heavy talks about that before I put my full focus to piggy bank, and of course we're going to go right back into that because there's a small handful of things that are like I'm ready to do immediately. One of them is check on the application status of our fiat on-ramp service that I applied to, that is giving that service to several other projects that aren't as big as us. So I'm thinking that we should make good progress on that. I need to get back into communication with Chainlink. Chainlink, because of the scratchy thing, I've been in communication with them, but I want to put more focus into that. I want to get back to PancakeSwap, right? And really try to nail in negotiations with them. I want to get back in talks with BetFury because they were ready to go. And then I need to finish the development of Animal Farm. And then when I finished that, they said that they needed a month or two because they were trying to get a sex listing, but we could link back up after that. So that's something I want to get right to, immediately now that the piggy bank development is finished. And I want to check in on Atlantis. There's a few smaller development teams that are building things I need to check in with. There's a lot on the table right now that I had to step away from to really hyper focus on piggy bank, but I'm right on the table again.
When does
the only idea for me is that the drip BUSD farm where I can put my drip garden earnings into. Like, I don't have to break apart liquidity, and I don't have to, I guess, weaken the price floor of drip. Like, I liked the idea of being able to earn yield in pigs. So it sounds like you're kind of doing that with PancakeSwap for the piggy bank. Just another place to put our LP tokens.
Yeah. All right. So okay. Of course, with drip BUSD, you can put that in Animal Farm and earn yield, right? But you're earning yield in the form of pigs. We're not able to earn yield on the back end, like earning cake, because we don't have a native farm pool on PancakeSwap yet. But that's something that we're in negotiations with right now. And I'm sure if we get it with drip, we'll be able to at least be in a better negotiating point with dogs and pigs. But they're really interested in drip right now. And I know with some of the things we have lined up, they're going to be more interested. So I was going to say you guys have no idea what a good UI can do, but of course you guys, I don't want to say what you guys have any idea about or not, but having the kind of UI that is on par with these, major international investment banks, and being able to do search engine optimization to really make that efficient, that's not something that was on my mind when we built the initial drip site, right? So right now we're listing kind of high on Google, but we should be at the top, and there's no reason, we're close to the top without doing any search engine optimization at all. So, I'm very confident that we can get at the top of Google. Just type in drip and we'll be at the top when we get this new UI out. So,
is there a timeline on that with everything going?
Yeah, well, it's already built. Right? So I'm looking at next month. There's some things that we need to do. We need to collect testimonials, right? Because I've showed. Let me see if I have it, but I've shown kind of a preview of the website. We have a place right on the front page for scrolling testimonials, right? And that's something that we need to collect. And we already have a website that's been collecting drip testimonials, but I really want to, put focus into collecting more and really sift through the good ones and collect them. So we have that to do, and then we have to just kind of put the final touch on the team airdrop part of it. Right, because I paid to have the new drip website built through utilizing a team that only builds front ends, like for really high end, businesses, and they built the whole thing except for the team airdropping stuff because that is really complicated and it's really takes a deep understanding of our network to do. So that's something that we're going to do. But everything except for that. So everything except for the testimonies getting collected and the team airdrop stuff, which is really pretty much done, right? We just need to make it a little more efficient. So because of that, I'm thinking next month is reasonable. But when we get I would say probably 2 weeks away, then I'll let people know. We're 2 months away. We're a week away. I just want to be very careful about setting deadlines, But
I didn't know if you had something in your head where hey, I wanted this out before the chain
Yeah.
link thing or before another thing. I didn't know if there was a certain point in all of this mix that this is where you want to implement it, or it's not necessarily.
So having a better UI helps open the door for everything else. So it's something that I want to get done as soon as possible, and I'm looking at next month. I want to get it done by next month. So
Awesome.
Hey, FOREX, quick question for you. So when Piggy Bank launched, back when it did, you had mentioned the possibility of an emergency end stake function, and obviously you threw that out the door for unknown concerns. Have you considered implementing that in the future, or with this with this next push next Thursday to relaunch Piggy Bank, will it not be a thing ever?
Emergency end stake function will not be added when we do V2. Potentially, it could be added in the future, but when we went over all of the logic, the only thing that could potentially cause trouble in the future is emergency end staking. So I wasn't comfortable with putting it in. Potentially, we could continue to research it and at some point in the future realize we could do it if we implement it this way or that way, and we will add it. If it makes sense to add, we will add it, but I don't want to make any kind of security concession like that for the sake of convenience or whatever. So we allow people to make multiple stakes. We allow you to compound your stakes, and we have functions that no other staking protocol has, especially no other time locking staking protocol has. And these additional functionalities we built into it add additional logic that we need to be very careful with, and I don't think adding an emergency end stake function would cause an issue, but if anything was going to cause an issue, I could see it being that, right? So it's just, I would want to do a lot more research on it if we were to do it. I'm without it, I'm 100% confident in the protocol, and I'll never make a decision that takes me anywhere other than 100% confident in the protocol. So it's not in the plans for Thursday. I'll tell you that, and if we come up with a scheme that we can be 100% confident in, then potentially we will do it. But it's I don't think it's necessary. I think it would be nice, but it's not necessary, right? Because you can do all kinds of stakes. You can do 100 different stakes, all ending in different weeks, different months, and do your planning beforehand, so you don't need to do emergency stakes.
I hear you. That sounds solid and reasonable. With that being said, what issues could you foresee happening with an emergency end stake? Like, my head goes, maybe someone stakes for a year, accrues a lot of capital, compounds every day, the whole 9 yards. Would their withdrawal and the potential sell, do you think that could negatively affect price of LP tokens, for example? Like, are you worried about people being dumped on, or what is your thought with that?
You never want a scenario where someone could potentially earn more in the system from getting out earlier. If you can set up your logic so there's never a scenario where someone could emergency withdraw and then maybe deposit the next day and somehow benefit from that, it could cause a type of looping potentially where they're depositing, withdrawing in some sort of automated fashion that allows them to drain the system. Now, I can't exactly see a scenario where that would be possible with emergency end stakes, right? But if there's any mechanic that would allow for something like that, it would be emergency end stakes. And it would just take a lot of research for me to be 100% confident in it, and I would rather get the product out and allow it to be functional, and do the research while it's functional, and maybe add it in the future when that's all done, than go into something with limited confidence, or launch this next year because I'm sitting here studying one small mechanic of out of the whole system that really isn't necessary for the system to work anyways. So this is mostly a pragmatic decision. That's all it is, right? Because I'm 100% confident in the current system. If I was to add an emergency end state, I wouldn't be 100% confident, which means I would need to do a lot of research and a lot of testing, and I don't know when that would finish, and I know potentially when it was finished, I could come to the conclusion that it's not viable, and I don't want to, delay the launch of Piggy Bank for the next 6 months or the next year just over this one mechanic, right? So it's just a pragmatic decision, so I can go into this being 100% confident in the security of it and be able to get it out when we want to get it out.
Hey, FOREX.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Hi, FOREX. Quick question. Sorry, I'm going quite fast. So it's good to have you back. And you mentioned the secondary tier for the REAP DAO. Do you think about using dogs and pigs for that can create a secondary utility for those tokens? Are they suitable? And my second question is, I'm a React developer, and I heard you are looking for a React developer as well. How can I contact you?
Well, first of all, yes. My plan for the NFTs is to sell them in batches and sell them in our assets. So sell some percentage of them in dogs, some percentage of them in pigs, some percentage of them in drip, and some percentage of them in BNB. Right? So that's the plan. The plan is to use them to provide value for existing assets, but I want to get a few third-party trades under the belt before we do it. And they would be limited, right? So, I'm thinking maybe we open up 1,000 positions and, sell each NFT for, I don't know, $1,000, $5,000, whatever the case may be. I want to do it for 1/10 of the price of Tier 1. So right now, Tier 1 is about $40,000 to get in. So that would mean Tier 2 would be $4,000 for a seat in there. And we would sell them in drip, dogs, and pigs, and BNB. And it would be a percentage in dogs, percentage in drip, percentage in pigs, percentage in BNB, probably 25, like that. And this is something that is not immediate on my list to do, right? So what's in my immediate list to do are, some of the things I already discussed that are directly related to drip and Animal Farm. Once we get a few raises under our belt, right, a few third-party raises under our belt in the DAO, then I'll open up for Tier 2. Currently, right now, you can't get it in Tier 1. In order to get into the next few raises, you'll need to be in Tier 1. And when we do open up for Tier 2, the way that it will work is the price for these Tier 2 NFTs, first of all, the batch will be limited, right? We'll only allow for so many spots in Tier 2. And we'll be selling them for 1/10 of the price that the current price is to get it to Tier 1. So if Tier 1's $40,000, we'll be selling them for $4,000 each. You could buy them. When they're in your wallet, they represent essentially a spot in the DAO group, or you could then sell them in an NFT marketplace to someone else that wasn't able to buy one because they missed out, and you can now sell it to them for a profit. So not only will it bring value to our native assets, which they'll be sold in initially, they'll also bring value to the holders because you get access to the DAO with them, or you can decide to sell them for a profit in the marketplace. So I think that's going to be very cool, but I want to wait until we get a few third-party raises. That way, the demand for them is very high. People see, I can point to, look at the last 3 raises we did. They did this and this and this. They're major companies. It went very well. You can also look at the 3 raises we had before that, which was my own project. We did 40x or more on all of them. And then you can look on my Discord. Over the past 6 years, I've done 3 dozen raises or whatever the case is with a lot of big companies. MahaDAO, TrustSwap, Legacy, a ton of different projects, and those all did very well also. So, but that's not on the top of my list. What's on the top of my list is the handful of things that were on the sidelines for drip that are now on the table that I need to handle. Piggy bank and Animal Farm promotion, the scratch ticket protocol, which I'm extremely excited about, and having these first few raises in the DAO, which will only be accessible to tier 1. And to get that, you need to buy the REAP token, which is an ERC20 token. It's R34P. You could go into the Drip Telegram group and type /DAO, and you'll get links to all of it. You'll be able to join. Once we get a few of these raises, I'm not going to go into what our next raise is because I've already gone over it here, but it's something very, very big. It's by the former CEO of Paxful, it's a big deal, right? So you can get access to that right now. I should also say that there is a DAO member that has multiple positions in the DAO because he was just a big holder of REAP, and he's willing to sell at least one of his positions in the DAO OTC, right? So you would still buy it at market price, but you wouldn't need to suffer the price impact of buying $40,000 worth of tokens, right? So that would save you, 10-15% maybe. Even though you're getting it at market price, it's just because you're not causing price impact because it's OTC. There isn't a lot available for that, but I know the top holder of REAP has a few positions, and he's willing to offload at least one of them. So, and the reason why he's willing to offload at least one of them is because I've kind of pressured him to, because I don't want one person holding multiple seats. So I kind of let him know, hey, you can hold a handful of seats. I got no problem with that, but you're not going to be hoarding all of the seats, right? I want to let other people join the DAO. So I convinced him to occasionally, sell a seat or two OTC. So that's also an option. Drip Ninja, he's a good person to get a hold of if you need to get a hold of me. So about the React question, I get a dip after this, but Drip Ninja, he's always someone great to reach out to. He'll let me know. Angel, right, the admin, he'll let me know. And I hesitate to say Bartertown.
Yeah, Ninja is good actually. I talk to him on a daily basis, so I can go through him.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So because my Telegram username is on all of the listing sites and everything. So all of the spammers and bots and everything, they just DM me all day, every day, like, "Hey, I'm representing so and so exchange. We want to list you, blah blah blah," and I'll get like 1,000 of those posts every day, and so. When I have an established conversation with someone, I add them to one of my DM folders, and then I sometimes can notice if they DM me. I have a ton of notifications, so then it's still even hard, but at least you'll be on my radar. Whereas if you DM me and I've never had a conversation with you, and you're not saved to one of my DM folders, your DM is going to get immediately buried, and I'll never see it. So it's always best to hit up one of the admins and let them know, and they'll get the info to me. So, guys, I got an AMA tomorrow at noon. If you have any other questions that I haven't got to, go on Twitter go on the Drip Community Twitter account. Look at the last post I made. It's about the AMA tomorrow, and just write it under there, right? Because I'm always checking the chat and everything, but it's easy to miss it. I won't miss it if you write it in the under the tweet, right? So that's a good way for me to see your question. I'm going to read through those tomorrow and answer all of them. I'm going to try to open it up like this tomorrow as well, but it's just a little harder in the main group because we have like 60,000 people in there almost, and we get a couple thousand people in the voice chat, and it's just hard to open it up to people because there's so many people, and you get the guy who's like asking me how to, download MetaMask, and why is my MetaMask blinking, or I get all those kinds of questions when the group's too big. So to make sure that I get to your question in the AMA tomorrow, if you have a question, put it under the tweet that I made today. All right, guys. Thanks, Black Sheep. Thank you guys for letting me do this.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for hanging out.
I know you asked me to do it, so I still appreciate it. I always enjoy the platform.
Yeah, come on the live stream sometime too, man. Anytime.
Thank you.
I will. We'll have to do it sometime this week. So I'll just get with you when we get off.
Let's do it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Man.
See you guys later. All right,
Thanks,
bye, guys.
Take care.